Welcome to We Are Women, Unapologetically, the podcast that talks about the good, bad, ugly, and awesome. Careers, life transitions, confidence, and everything in between. Because shift happens, but you don't have to do it alone.
Did you know that 64% of high-achieving women delay career changes up to 3.5 years because of financial concerns? But yet those that actually go in and make the change with a strategic plan recoup their income in 18 months and often exceed their income in 3 years. What is the number one thing people are concerned about when it comes to career transitions? Money. We stress about finances, we worry about our savings, but yet we are sitting here literally draining ourselves because we are in a job that we are unhappy in. So today we're going to be tackling that. My name is Jessica, and welcome to We Are Women Unapologetically. If you're currently in the middle of a career shift, you probably have questions like, how long can I go without a paycheck? Or should I look at taking a bridge job or freelance work? And the most common one is, how do I stop stressing about money so I can actually focus on the next move? Trust me, I have been there. I was laid off, and yes, I had severance, but I knew that that was going to be limited time. I also had my significant other that was going through his own career transition. And let me tell you, the fear can be real. And I have sold things. I have gone through savings. I've done all of these different things, but I'm telling you that the biggest thing when it comes to finances is you have to stay positive. You have to focus on what you can control, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So let's dive right in. So here's a little bit about what you're going to be learning today. Number one is going to be how to calculate your financial runway. We're also going to be looking at how to look at gap strategies. We just talked about it, right? Bridge jobs, freelance jobs, some sort of passive income. We're also going to be talking about how to restructure your expenses. What are your must-haves? What can you cut? What are the frills that go along with it? We're also going to be talking about the psychology of money because it is real and it can grab you and it can scare the crap out of you. And then finally, we're going to be talking about how do you look at building long-term financial resilience? Because let's face it, people do not want to talk money. So if you thought, okay, maybe I can listen to this podcast while I'm doing something else, go ahead and pause it right here and then come back to me when you have time because this is going to be critical. We're talking about your money. It's a 4-letter word, CASH or CARD, right? These are scary 4-letter words, but they have to be talked about. So what I'd like you to do is have your piece of paper and a pen or open up the notes on your phone. And if you need to go, again, pause it, come back to me, that's fine. But what I'd like you to do when you're ready is I want you to create 3 columns on your piece of paper. The first one is your non-negotiables. These are things like rent, car payment, food. Look at what all of your expenses are for that list. Then I want you to look at your flexibles. What are things that you can maybe cut back on? Maybe it could be your food budget. Maybe it could be looking at the amount that you're spending for your phone plan or your internet package. And then the third one is going to be the things that you can cut out altogether. And this might be your Netflix subscription. I know. Going out to eat, which is another bummer. And of course, right, one that a lot of people have, and we joke about, but it's true, Starbucks. Now, I'm going to be very vulnerable for a second and tell you that this is something that I have had to do personally. I have had to look at doing this very same exercise. I have had to make drastic adjustments. I had to look at how can I have more income coming in due to circumstances that were some in my control and some that were not. So go ahead, pause it here, put your list together, and then come back to me. All right. Now that you've done that, what I want you to do is I want you to take your non-negotiables and your minimal flex expenses. And what I want you to do is I want you to add these up because that right there, that is the holy grail survival number. That is the income that you must have coming in order to survive. Now I want you to look at your savings and your checking accounts. Based on this number that you just came up with, this survival bare bones number, how many months are you able to survive? And then, and this is really important, I want you to look at what is your emotional support number that you're okay with. Because let's be real, that bare bone survival number isn't going to be sustainable forever. And women really underestimate the amount of stress that can be put on us financially. So if you need to adjust it, right? Let's say it's, that it's 6 months that you can survive, but comfortably you want to save 4 just in case. It's okay. Come up with that number. And I really want you to base all of this on your emotional comfort number. Then let's look at what are some other types of income or money that could help you. Do you qualify for unemployment? If so, how much is that going to be every 2 weeks? Because every state is different. And what does it take to qualify? Because that's going to be another big one. Do you have the support of a family member or a partner for income? Do you already have some sort of side income that you're going to be able to attribute to this? And do you have a severance package? If so, how many months is that for, and or weeks? And would you be able to stretch that even further? So let's walk through an example together. Let's say that your monthly expenses are $4,000 a month, and that emotional number that would make you feel more comfortable is 800. So then we're looking at $4,800 is what you need every month in order to be okay. So let's say that you have $12,000 in savings and you have a side income of $1,000 per week. So in reality, when you first look at the numbers of 4,800, you are at, with savings, approximately about 2.5 months worth of covering your bills. But when you incorporate your side hustle of $1,000 a month, you essentially, as part of that in being your income, you can extend it to 4 months. Now, if you have a high interest debt, you're going to need to factor that in as well, because obviously you're going to want to be paying down that debt as quickly as possible. Now, I will be the first to admit that, credit cards for me, I learned a very, very tough lesson at a young age. And essentially, I had credit cards that were taken out in my name when I was younger. And there was a lot of debt that was racked up and then paid off, but it was debt that was not racked up by me. But it taught me a lesson about credit cards that I knew what I did not want to have, and that was carry a credit card balance. And I will be 100% honest with you. For the first time in my life, I actually have carried a credit card balance for more than 6 months. And it's kind of scary to me because I understand all the money that does go to interest, but I also know that I'm not alone. And I also know that there are people that rely on credit cards every single month. And I'm not saying that credit cards are a horrible thing, because they definitely help you out when they need them. But, oftentimes when we're younger, we're not taught how to use a credit card properly. And then all of a sudden, all this debt is racked up and we're swimming in it. I also know people that have had to file bankruptcy, some even multiple times, because they weren't able to manage their money. And this is another reason that I'm doing this episode today, is because we have to be not only prepared, but we have to make smart choices when it comes to money. And part of the reason that we have to be smart is because a lot of times people underestimate the amount of time that a transition takes. It does not matter if you have been laid off. It doesn't matter if you're looking at pivoting into a new career or starting your own business. They would say that it takes 6 to 9 months in order to really make a career transition. But I'm going to be real with you. The way that the economy is today, all of the different changes that are happening in the world, we're seeing so many different layoffs in the tech industry, all of these federal workers that are currently being relieved of their duties. Like, the unemployment rates are most likely going to go up as a result of this. And when that happens, obviously the market is inundated of people looking. Now, here's another thing that is making it harder for people that are in transition and taking longer. We're seeing that the employers are lumping jobs together into one job description. They're not breaking it out. They're saying, for example, they need a marketing person, but they really need someone in charge of web design, all of their social media content, right? These are different jobs. And I kind of like to put it into a football analogy. It's basically like someone saying that they need a football player as their advertisement. But in reality, they need a cornerback, quarterback, a defensive line, and a nose tackle. Okay. All of these are different roles, but they're trying to lump it in and just saying, oh, I need someone that does this all. So again, transitions used to take 6 to 9 months. I know people that are so qualified that have been out of work for over a year. And I'm not trying to scare you by saying that, but I'm being real. Like, this topic is not something that we can take lightly because it is your livelihood at stake. So think about your own numbers. Do you have a gap? Are you worried about the amount of months that you're going to be able to survive? And if you do, it's okay, because we are going to walk through it. We are going to talk about the income gap strategies and how you can look at having additional income right now. If your runway feels short, cutting expenses is not the answer. We've already looked at that minimal number and what you must have coming in. What it is about is it's about finding low stress, flexible income sources to keep you afloat. So what we're going to look at right now is 3 different ways in order for you to do this. These are going to consist of consulting and freelance work. This is something just temporarily to get you by. The second one is going to be bridge jobs. Again, something temporary to get you by, but it's going to be a stepping stone and you're going to be able to do it for a little bit of time before you get into the role that you truly want. And then the third is going to be passive income, which is going to be a long-term financial stream for you. So let's focus on the first one, which is going to be consulting and freelance work. This is something where you can utilize your expertise in order to have some sort of income. Understandable, it's not benefits, so it's not ideal for everyone, but you can also look at going to the Affordable Care Act, ACA, Marketplace to look at government insurance while you're doing this consulting and freelance work. Now, I will be the first to admit that I have had to do some consulting work that I was not expecting to do while I was building up my coaching business. And, it was something that, yes, it did take time away from me building up my business, but I also knew that I had to be able to pay the bills and keep the lights on. So the second one is bridge jobs. And this could be seasonal work, it could be part time, it could be temporary work. It's still flexible for you, but it still, again, is going to help you keep the lights on. And you really need to think about what type of work works best for you. The third one is the passive income or digital products. And this is a long term strategy for you to have financial income. These may not be ideal for everyone, but some of them may include creating an online course or renting out a room in your house, maybe investing. Now, as we're looking at the stock market, may not be a bad idea as the prices are going down, right? That's how people make millions. I was looking at LinkedIn the other day, and Tori Dunlap, who, if you don't know who she is, she's phenomenal. But she is all about helping women become millionaires. And she said that, she's not worried about the stock market right now, even though we're seeing dramatic decreases. But what she did say is that that's how millionaires are made. When the stocks are down, people invest because the stock market is a long-term strategy and we know it's going to eventually go back up. Again, like I said, it may not be for everyone, but think about if it's something right for you. And let me just say this now. I'm not a financial advisor. If you have one, I suggest you talk to them. If you don't have one, I suggest you get one, because ultimately what we're talking about today, they are going to be able to for sure put you on the right course, even if it's a one-time thing. Another thing that we need to look at doing is restructuring during the transition. And this means cutting out the expenses such as Starbucks, right? Maybe looking at calling your mortgage company and seeing if you can have a delay on your mortgage. Explain the situation to them. It may be worth it, or, maybe looking at getting a different lower cost vehicle. These are all ways that you can look at potentially extending your runway. Let's just say, for example, you cut costs that added up to $500 a month, whether it be your Amazon Prime, your Netflix account. All of these different subscriptions add up. I was talking with someone the other day and they said the death by $20 subscription. I'm like, holy cow, that is so true. How many subscriptions are $20? Okay, there's quite a few. And when you look at adding all of those up, it adds up quickly. But if you can look at saving $500 a month, that's $6,000 a year. You just added another month and a half to your runway. We're going to shift gears here, and we are going to talk about the psychological relationship with money. And it's funny because when I looked at recording this episode, I was like, "Ooh, this is a raw one, right?" And like I've been saying already, it hits home for me. I think it hits home for all of us. The psychological relationship that we have with money is real. And when we don't have the income coming in that we once had, we go into a scarcity mode. It is a survival mode that our ancestors used when it came to being able to not necessarily have food. But for us, we're using it and it can make us make fear based decisions. An example of this: you are now bringing your lunch versus eating out, or you are declining happy hour, yet you do have money in savings. And yes, you're coming from a place of conservation, but it's fear. And that fear based decision can do a lot more damage, such as staying stuck in a job that we're not happy in just for a paycheck. Right. So, what I want you to do is, I would like you to get that piece of paper and pen, or open the notes up again, and go ahead and write down what are your three biggest fears when it comes to money. Go ahead and pause it here and then come back to me. All right, got them? Now let's go ahead and flip the script on them. First one, if you're thinking I'm going to run out of money, I want you to reframe it into saying, I'm creating multiple strategies to maintain financial stability. If you're thinking, I'll never make as much money in this new field as I was making before, reframe it into, I'm investing in skills that will ultimately increase my earning potential. If you're thinking I should just be grateful that I have a paycheck coming in, sis, I want you to know that you can have fulfillment and financial stability. It's okay. You deserve it. So, what I want you to remember is that the language that we use really plays a role in the outcome. I am 100% about staying positive, thinking about what I can do, thinking about what I have control over. As a matter of fact, here, I have this on my monitor. It says, what can we do? Because when something happens to us, and I know that I've talked about this in previous episodes, but when something happens to us, it's neutral. It's how we perceive it that makes it positive or negative. And so, what I want you to do is, every time one of those negative thoughts pops into your head, replace it with three positive facts. And gosh, I keep hitting my mic today. So I also want you to think about the how, right? We've talked about what we can do, but how. If you're thinking, I can't afford to change this, think about, how can I afford to change this? By doing this, what you're doing is you're actually opening up your mind to creative solutions that you may not have necessarily thought about before in order to reach your financial stability. One thing I want you to remember, and if you've been multitasking, come back to me because this is super important. I want you to remember that your relationship with money is one of the longest relationships you will ever have. This is why it's important to give it the same attention and care as any other important relationship in your life. Treat your finances with respect, but not fear. Money responds to clarity, not anxiety. Okay, now let's talk about the long term game because we know that career transitions happen, but we also know that other things in life happen. But here's the reality of it. According to the Harvard Business Review, they said that women that navigate multiple career transitions end up retiring with 30% more than those that stayed in stagnant roles that they were unhappy in. So, why is that? Because they have built long term financial resilience. It's going to be broken down into three pillars. And the first one is income diversification. So today, women actually have typically 3 to 5 income work streams. And I am not talking about working 3 to 5 jobs because that's just plain crazy. What I am talking about is looking at different things that you can do, consulting or freelance work on the side. Maybe it's some sort of passive income like investing, right? We've talked about that earlier. Or maybe it's something where you have rental or asset income if possible. Even if your additional streams start small, maybe $500 a month, that adds up. Again, $500 a month is $6,000 a year. That is enough to give you a financial safety net in order to have an amazing career and make bold career choices for yourself. The second one is strategic savings. And I am not talking about squirreling away every little penny, but what I am talking about is aiming for 6 to 12 months of financial freedom. And this is something where I want it broken down into 3 different ways. The first one is going to be basic emergency fund. This is 3 to 4 months for all of your expenses being covered. The second one is going to be the opportunity fund. This is for money that you have earmarked for different trainings or startup costs if you're looking at starting your business. And the third one is going to be your freedom fund. Now, listen up, ladies, because this one's important. This freedom fund is the money for you to have that you can utilize so you never feel trapped in a job or relationship again. When you start looking at your money this way, you no longer start seeing your money as money you can't touch. What you do see it as is a strategic toolkit for your future and creating the life that you want. And the third one is going to be future proofing skills, data literacy, negotiations, EQ, which is emotional intelligence. I want you to remember this. In uncertain times, especially in the world that we're living in today, your skills become your security. I'm going to say that again. So if you've been multitasking, come back to me. In uncertain times, your skills become your security. It doesn't matter if markets crash, it doesn't matter if industries change. What you know how to do maintains its value. Okay, ladies, we are to that point in the week where it is all about the action steps for you to take. So I want you to commit to 4 simple yet powerful steps for this week. The first one is going to be to calculate your financial runway. Remember, this is going to be a combination of your absolutely non-negotiables and your minimal flex. This is the number that you must have, and don't forget to include your emotional support number in there too. This is the number you must have in order to survive. That will help you calculate your runway of how long you're going to be okay without a paycheck. The second one is going to be to pick your bridge income strategy. This could be a consulting or freelance job. It could be some sort of passive income, but take the first step to make that concrete. Maybe it is updating your LinkedIn profile for consulting opportunities, applying for one targeted part-time position, or creating the outline for a digital product that you would like to sell. You would be amazed the different things that people are selling online these days. Now, do not overthink this one because one imperfect planning beats no steps altogether. The third one is going to be find your painless $500. How can you look at reducing your bills by $500 this month? Again, those subscriptions, they add up quickly. There are different things that you can do to help find where some of that income is. I am not affiliated with them at all whatsoever, but if they would love to affiliate with me, I would love to work with them. But Rocket Money, that's one of them. They will look at all of the subscriptions that you have, figure out what you're paying for. They will help you to cancel the subscriptions and sometimes ultimately help you get money back, because a lot of times with the yearly subscriptions, if you cancel, they're still going to make you pay until your renewal is up. The last one I want you to focus on is reframing your money mindset. Think about the words that you are telling yourself when it comes to money. How are you saying it? What are you putting out there? Right? Because the words that you project, that's what the universe says that you want. It's the law of attraction. So reframe your negative thoughts about money into positive ones. As we wrap up, I have actually created 2 free resources for you that you are able to download. I will put the link in the transcript, but the first one is going to be for women that are looking to pivot from their careers or into a different career. This is one that you have a job, you have a steady income, you're just trying to figure out what's next. And this free resource will talk about not only financial, but some of the other things that go along with career pivots and what you should look at trying to do before you make the leap into your new role. The other one is for those of you that have been laid off recently. I do want to say that I have been there. I was laid off and I didn't know what the hell to do. I was freaked out and I did go through a lot of these financial things that we talked about today. I also go through some of the steps that you should take for finding your next role. And again, I'm going to be very honest with the market, the way that it has been, the job market, the way that it has been. Times are a little uncertain and a little scary, but it doesn't have to be with the appropriate resources and the appropriate support system. So if you would like to look at setting up coaching with me to go through your own career transition or being laid off and you're figuring out what's next, please let me know. I do have packages available for that. And, the one thing that I wish someone would have told me when I was laid off is look at hiring someone to get you through this. Look at spending that money to invest in yourself. Now, ultimately, I did figure it out on my own, but I wish someone would have told me that right away. It would have saved me months of trying to just go through and figure out what's next and having this fear about money. So, as we close today, if this resonated with you, please like, share it, tag me in it, and let's start having the conversation about money. It's not something that we should be afraid of. It is something that we should be appreciative of, and it's something that we should handle with care. Again, it's one of the longest relationships you'll ever have in your life. Until next week, stay fierce, stay bold, but most importantly, stay unapologetically you.